Rewiring mindsets for growth. I'm here in Athens at the moment, and we just finished the sacred geometry workshop, teachings and activations, and this was really manifestation and really setting up the building blocks for life, for your temple, for manifestation. Now, the next stage that came in is actually the mind. So, how wild our mind can be, how destructive our mind can be, how controlling our mind can be, or how creative and brilliant our mind can be. So, it's always about creating balance with these polarities in the system. And no better way, it's interesting, we just recently received Medusa, and which is from Corfu. And I'm here in Greece, so it's interesting how she's coming up in the system. So Medusa for me is very important. I'm not sure if you can see here, but against black background. So Medusa is very, very interesting for me because you have the snakes, and the snakes are going to the eyes, the mouth, the brain, the mind. Okay. And she's very, very important in the healing aspect. It's interesting here in Greece when over the years I'm working with different archetypes of leaders, women, healers, all the different aspects. But Medusa is a very interesting archetype because Medusa for me represents the wildness, the destruction, the controlling part of the mind. If we don't tame our mind, if we don't work with the mind, if we don't work on why we are so controlling or destructive or devilish in the system. So we can see with evil in our eyes, or hatred in our eyes, or wildness in the eyes. We can speak with destruction and destroy and poison with our words. What we hear, we can be poisoned with as well. And the way we can project what we hear as well can be also poison and destruction to our system, or it can be beauty. So it's always the polarities. So it's interesting as well with the Ethiopian scrolls. We've got many of them here, and they all have similar formats. These are healing scrolls. And it's interesting, again, you have got the Medusa, you've got the snake around the eyes, again, around the hearing, around the voice, around the mind. Okay. So this is very, very important for healing, and they all have it, you know. And then you've got the geometry going down here, it spirals through the DNA, and so positive and negative. So it's interesting how in all these ancient scrolls we have similar things coming up in most, you know, have it in the all the healing sites here in Greece, but it's interesting how it's even in coming up in all the Ethiopian scrolls as well, is the same spirals, the snakes, for example, the knots, the DNA, the sacred geometries coming up in the system, the golden ratios in the system, and it just goes on. It's incredible. And every healing scroll is working with the DNA, for example, and is clearing the mind. So it's interesting how the mind, or they're very long. They're usually as long as the person. They're individual scrolls made for each person. And the red part is where they put the names in and the disease, what they want to work on. So each of these scrolls are all very interesting because you can see how much focus is on the mind and controlling the mind, you know, killing the mind, whatever way you want to put it. And because the mind is the issue. Without, if you do not get it worked with this mind, you're going to block yourself from healing. So here in all the sites, same thing in Greece. So everywhere I've been around healing, it's always the focus on the mind, for example, with the ayahuasca or sacred medicine, or, it's all about getting through the gates of the mind. And how do you do that? Then they take the psychedelics to get through the control of the mind, because the mind is controlling the gates to spirit, allowing spirit into the vessel fully. So the Medusa is, as I say, is very, very interesting to work with. If you put an intention in to work with the mind, to work with the brain, and see what parts of you is killing your life, killing your joy, killing your relationship, killing yourself, the way we speak to ourselves is very important. Our cells are listening to everything. And as I work a lot with stem cells are, and I've worked for many years with stem cells and people receiving their own stem cells, and I've observed how stem cells work and also how to get the best results. And through the work I've done over the years, I've noticed that if you do not clear the mind the way you speak about yourself, if you do not clear the cells of the mind and how the ancestors spoke about themselves or how you spoke about yourself, or if there's a trauma in the system, the stem cells will recreate that again in the organ or the joint or whatever you're doing. So they will only go as far as the mind will allow. The limitations is the mind. So I'm going to do 4 very potent webinars to work with the mind. And if you think about, for example, maybe you grew up in a household where it was like walking on eggshells, or you're in a relationship where it's walking on eggshells, it's almost like these snakes are around and then they become active. So it's the same. It's the same. So these representations always is a reflection of what's inside us, what's inside the mind, the part of us that will go crazy, the part of us that could kill, the part of us that could be destructive, the parts of us that is manipulating, the poisonous words we speak, the killing eyes, the deadly eyes, what we hear, selective hearing. So these are all very important systems to work with. And these 4 webinars, I only want to focus on this because I feel it's so important for self-healing and for freeing up your system for life, to enjoy life and to live life to the fullest. And it's interesting, we have many, many of these scrolls here from Ethiopia, and they're very specific for different types of healing. And every one of them, they start off with healing the mind and the protection of the mind. So Medusa in ancient Greece, our blood on the left side was poison, on the right side was for healing. But it's not about feminine, masculine. It's about, it can kill, destroy, poison, or it can create. And it's the polarities in all of us. So what I'd like to focus on in this webinar is to balance the polarities and to find the hidden poisonous snakes in the background, which may be there, nasty words, nasty speaking, rageful, destructive words, poisonous words, intentions, mindsets about how you may behave, about how you may talk about yourselves, how you may talk about your body. This is really, really important, how you can't let somebody go. So I want to work with all these fields and really go detailed in these 4 webinars. It'll be 4 hours and we'll go deep into the Medusa inside all of us and bring it back into balance and bring it back into harmony, bring it back into wholeness, into healing. So your mind, body, spirit is one, not separated and not controlled by something in the background, which then comes out. You can have I've worked with many Buddhists that seem very peaceful, and then all I see is hatred in their system because they haven't worked with the hatred, for example. So you can be you can be a huge people pleaser in the world and you come across very nice. But behind that, because you've suppressed the Medusa in you, and I feel bad saying Medusa in the system because too much was put on her. She was used to destroy, but she's a representation of the destruction in us. And what is happening with wars? You know, we all have the angel and the devil inside us, and we have the polarities inside us. So, what is happening in this world? Man is destroying, whereas man could be saving. So, where are we falling out of polarities? Where are we coming out of our system and go back into creation? So I'm looking forward to really opening this field up, and it's early days yet. I'm curious to see what drops in the next days on how healing works and how to work with the mind. So it's going to be a powerful one. It's going to be a very important webinar, I feel, in the Academy. And each of the webinars in the Academy are building blocks on each other. And this one is very, very, very important, is to work with your mind. So to see where is that animalistic, rageful, out of control mind in you, and how active is it? And then destroyer mind, spiteful mind, critical mind, jealous mind, envious mind, manipulating mind. What is in you? Rageful. So these are the aspects I'd like to take a look at over the weekend and to really honor them, balance them, and bring them back into wholeness. So yeah, it's going to be a potent weekend. And it's a good time to do this. It's very, very good. And there's a reason I say I'm back in Athens, and there's a reason Medusa came to us just now. And then these scrolls came in. So I'll share more about the scrolls later. Have a beautiful day, and thank you for being this journey with me. The sacred geometry was like, yeah, for me, it was a wow, and the system was really, really important. I did sacred geometry years ago. I used to be teaching it years ago, and this is something another level now because we've worked through different systems, much deeper work, much more results in the system. So yeah, enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And just question yourself, where's the Medusa in you? This uncontrollable part or electric part. Enjoy.